Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast number 40. Hello, a croeso I podcast rhif 40. It's a lot of numbers. My name is Mr. Gareth Goliath Evans. Joining me today is Mr. Henry Hideo Touched Me Cooper.
I wish he'd touch me, because he'd explain to me how clever the touching is, even if it isn't actually that good.
Metaphorically speaking, if you enjoy this game, he's touched all the people that enjoy this game, right?
I mean, the game's all about touching. There's hands everywhere, and that's all a metaphor, but we'll
get right into that, because we are talking about Death Stranding on today's podcast, as well as Rockstar have addressed the shaky Red Dead 2 PC launch, and we'll get stuck into that. We'll have some questions put to us by our Patreon community members over on our Discord channel. And we'll also be reading our top YouTube comments from this week, including the triggered fanboy comment of the week. Look out for that. It's the highlight of everybody's week. Let's put it that way. First up, we are talking, or Henry, more like, we'll be talking at length about Death Stranding and your experiences.
Talking and walking, a lot of walking. So I've been playing the game since when did it come out? Friday. Today's Thursday, and you'll be watching this either on Friday. So it's been out for around a week, let's say. And I've sunk a fairly decent amount of time into it, despite not having actually made that much story progress. I played about 20 hours, 25 tops, but a lot of it wasn't actually like playing, but that's what my counter is at. Yeah, but I've barely done any story, because I got through the prologue and stuff, which is cutscene heavy, and it's just like, oh, here's your guy, here's the world, there's time that fucks people up, the rain that fucks people up. Now go into the open world and do what you got to do. So I've just been doing that. And if you thought the game was an Amazon delivery guy simulator, you would be right.
Absolutely,
because that is what it is.
Suspicions confirmed.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that is a bad thing, but a lot of people would probably expecting and would be after more action, because
hey, it is what it is, right? I mean,
I certainly wouldn't have thought that a game which its entire loop is specifically about delivering packages could be quite so engaging in terms of fundamental gameplay loops and whatnot.
Yeah, despite the pitch, which is pretty poor for a AAA game, you deliver stuff.
Yeah,
that's a pretty poor pitch, and which is probably why they had a little bit of trouble pinning down what exactly this game was, because it doesn't fall into any known category that they can use to say, this is what the game's about, this is how much fun you're going to have playing it.
Exactly. So, in case you don't know, it's from a guy called Hideo Kojima, who used to work with a big company called Konami, who made games called Metal Gear, very popular action stealth games. I mean, they even have action on the box. It's tactical espionage action.
Yeah.
But then he split with them and is now doing his own thing. He owns his own studio called Kojima Productions, and that's a Sony-owned studio, and this is their first game ever under this banner, brand new thing. It's a new IP as well. But I think that's part of the reason that they didn't quite know what to sell it as.
Yeah.
Because it's very much a product of his imagination. Like, for better or worse, it's exactly the way he wanted it to be. And whether or not you like that is up to you, but it's what he wanted. So but yeah, it seems like they didn't quite know how to explain what this is, because it is trying to be something so new and from a different perspective, because it's not going from room to room shooting enemies like a lot of games. If you break down the fundamentals of a lot of action games these days, it's entering rooms and killing people.
Yes, and maybe had he have decided to go down the route of including some gameplay that is more familiar or common, let's say, then he would have been just watering down his vision, right? He would have just been appealing to the masses rather than just going with what he envisions and his artistic vision. And
you're in between a rock and a hard place there, because if he did include more action stuff, perhaps like more of a focus on shooting mechanics or anything like that, because there is some shooting, although I haven't actually got to any weapons yet, but I'll come back to that. If there was more of a focus on shooting, the game could perhaps be more fun and more entertaining, because it's an action heavy game. Most people like action games, but his vision wouldn't be the same. So I'm glad that he stuck with it, even though a lot of people won't like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think the gameplay is really engaging because it literally forces you to engage with it at all times. Because it's an open world game, and most open world games, you're walking a lot of it until you can fast travel. And one problem is I do wish you could fast travel sooner in this, but I'll get onto that because that's its own little mechanic. So when you're walking from A to B, you've got to deliver these packages, and that you have the huge tower of stuff on your back, which looks ridiculous. And you've got boxes on your shoulders and on your legs, so you're covered in stuff. And you've got to manage, in general, inventory management, like where you're going to put it. But luckily, all you have to do is press triangle in the inventory menu, and it automatically displace it, so the weight of everything is distributed, which is handy. But then when you're walking along, if you've got too much stuff on you, you're going to start wobbling. Like if you lean to the left, your stuff's going to start tipping over, so you've got to balance that out.
Yeah. So even walking is difficult.
It can be, yeah.
So it's not like you go from A to B. To get from A to B, like you said, the engaging gameplay, you're always engaged because you have to make sure that
you have
balanced.
to engage yourself. Because literally the controls work is the two triggers, left and right, he grabs the left side of his backpack or the right side to like stabilize himself, and you can do it both at the same time, or you can just kind of do this if you want to. I saw some guy on Twitter said, "This is how I play Death Stranding," and he made the character drum in time within the air tonight, which was really funny. Anyway, so you're forced to engage with the mechanics, and if you can't get behind that, if you don't enjoy that, the whole game's going to be a bust for you.
Yeah.
And I can see a lot of people having that barrier because it isn't big flashy explosions and long like story-driven moments in those scenes. You are just walking, but you plot your route manually. It's not you can just drop a waypoint and it'll be like, okay, it's a kilometer that way, go straight, but you're not going to be able to do that because there'll be obstacles in the way, like mountains or rivers that you can't cross. So you can actually draw a line manually yourself, so you'd avoid those things. Or you can be like, okay, well, there is a river here. I can put down a ladder to act as a bridge, or when you get a little bit further, you can build a bridge by like setting up this little thing like terminal, and you contribute resources to it, and you can also contribute resources to other people's bridges. So the idea is that you work together, and that's hammering home the theme of connection, which is what the game is all about.
Okay.
And that's one thing I do like about it, is that everything comes back to this theme. Like that's what he said it in interviews, but he could just be saying this in hindsight. But it does feel like that's what he thought of first. It's like, all right, I don't want a game about shooting. I don't want a game about even story, not about story. I want a game about connection. Yeah. So he brings everything back around this one thing, and everything is a metaphor, not always to the benefit of gameplay. Yeah. But it lends itself to the concept, which I think is quite good.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the scrutiny around this game, because this game is scrutinized from so many different angles, so many different people, a lot of that scrutiny is because it's Hideo Kojima, and maybe it's unfair as well, the amount of scrutiny it's under, but a huge AAA game from Hideo Kojima, the maker of Metal Gear franchise, and it turns out that he's a bit whimsical on the gameplay and things like that. It's like if it wasn't a AAA blockbuster type game that they were trying to make here, if it was just like an indie mid-tier thing, people would probably love this for what it is, right?
He'd definitely get away with it if it was indie. If you literally stripped out the stunning visuals, it's one of the prettiest games around at the moment. It looks amazing. If you strip that down and went for a more lo-fi, maybe a slightly artsier art style, like a Breath of the Wild. Part of the reason that game gets away with being so big is because the art style is less demanding on the system. If you strip that down, maybe made the world a little bit smaller and scaled down, I think so many people would just be like, oh, this is a cool little brand new indie thing, and it'd get,
less scrutiny.
Yeah, and it'd be like the hot takes, like, oh, there's this hidden gem called Death Stranding. Oh yeah, you should play it. Like, not enough people play it. I think because it's AAA, it's got more eyes on it. Yeah, very much so. But yeah, I could totally see how some people could think it was boring and particularly like laborious and feels like hard work, because you've got to maintain your equipment and your balance and everything, because your stuff starts to degrade over time due to a thing called timefall. And I'll get onto a bunch of terms in a minute, because that's one thing the game is good at and bad at. It throws a lot of jargon at you, which is like, oh cool, it's got like a proper identity in its own like sci-fi world. but it's not very good at explaining some of it. It over-explains tiny things.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how this mechanic works, even though every other game has done this. Like, you open a map and you put waypoints in. I know how to do that. Yeah. That's fine. But other stuff, it kind of glosses over. Sometimes that's because it's going to be developed further down the line. So, well, I'll jump into some terms now because it's a bit easier. One that I don't think it has explained yet, but I'm expecting it to over time, is the Dooms, which is a condition which your character, Sam Porter Bridges, Kojima's not very good at naming people. No. He's called a porter because he is a porter. He delivers things. That's what porters do. And Bridges because he builds bridges, i.e. connections.
That's clever, that.
Right, I mean, super smart, right?
Super clever, yeah.
Yes, he's got this thing called the Dooms, which means he can sense things called BTs. And I'll get onto those in a sec. And there's different levels of Dooms. So there's... You got to stay with me. He's got
the Dooms. It's not
the
just
Dooms.
It's not like the blues. He's not just feeling down or bad.
Blues.
He's got the Dooms.
The Dooms.
It sounds even worse than the blues.
And I mean, there's part of the reason why he starts crying, because that's like an allergy to chiral energy or some bollocks. Again, bear with me.
Keep going.
It's like, well, because it's the first entry in a franchise, there's no lore around it. It's just this game. So it's like, okay, here you go. And it does do quite a good job of having, I think they call them interviews, where you can just read through stuff of information people have sent you in the game, like, oh, here's what this thing is about if you want to read more. Most of the time, I'll skim through it because I can't be reading paragraphs of stuff because there's a lot of detail.
Yeah,
the Dooms, you can sense BTs. BTs are beached things. That's quite easy to remember.
Yeah.
And they are effectively ghosts. They're just ghosts.
Yeah.
They are people who died but then didn't quite go all the way to the other side or heaven or whatever you want to call it. They're stuck in between on what is called the beach, hence why they're beached things. And that's like the sort of the world of the dead, but more the world between worlds.
Yes.
It's like the halfway step. And when you die, you don't quite go to the beach, you sort of do. You go to the seam because you are called a repatriate. Because when you die, you can come back to life. Yeah. No idea why, really. It's
because you're a patriot, obviously.
Yeah. No, you're repatriate because we're
repatriate. Yeah. No explanation needed.
And he's got both Dooms and is a repatriate, which makes him really special.
Yeah, special.
And part of the reason he's special is because he's got special blood and poo and wee, which is how you fight BTs, by literally throwing grenades filled with your blood and poo and
fluids.
Wee.
I mean, why? It all makes sense to me. Keep going.
I mean, if it works, it works. I just don't know why yet. Hopefully they're going to tell me.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
But then the bad guy, a guy called Higgs, he's played by Troy Baker, and I've only met him like twice. I think I've only spoken to him once. He's got like a really high level of Dooms, so he can control BTs. Like there was a point where he literally summoned one out of the ground and I had to fight it. I was like, okay, this is gonna suck, but I smashed him. It was quite easy. Then there's BB, which is your bridge baby, or just it's your baby. It's the little thing in a jar on your chest, and they can sense BTs because they are connected to what is called a still mother, which is like a mum who died during like the labour and childbirth and everything. So they're on the beach.
The mother's on the beach.
Yeah.
So they're not passed over to the other side.
So the BB is connected to the mother who isn't actually alive anymore.
Got ya.
Which is a bit complicated.
So what benefit does having a BB grant you?
It means that you can sense BTs because you've got this little gadget on your shoulder which like blinks. It's called an Odradek.
Right, of course it is.
Come on, just give me a fucking simple name here. And that blinks, and that is actually a really cool mechanic because you can't see BTs, not really. You can sort of see them as like an outline of like smoke or dust or whatever.
Yeah.
When they want to appear, because your level of Dooms, you can only sense them, you can't fully see them, but BBs can help you. So that thing's blinking, and it will point effectively at nothing, and you won't know quite how far it is, and then it will start blinking really, really quickly, and you're like, okay, time to move away from that. And that can make it really, really tense and really atmospheric, especially when for the first few hours you have no means of fighting back. If they get you
got no shit or piss or anything.
No, not even not a pot to piss in, so to speak. But eventually when you do get your shower water piss and poo grenades, they don't kill them, they like stun them. So you can throw that at them and it smashes and they're like stunned or whatever. Then you get your blood grenades called hematic grenades, I think, which they can kill them, which is super helpful.
Right, cool.
Then, so if a BT gets you and kills you, there's so much jargon.
You die.
You die, and then you go to the beach, and you repatriate.
Yeah,
I guess. So you respawn.
Yeah.
But when you die, you cause what's called a void out.
Okay.
And that's not happened to me yet, and I'm quite glad, because if you cause a void out, it forms a massive fuck off crater in the map.
Yeah.
Which sounds really, really cool, but I haven't died yet, and I'm terrified of it happening, because if that happens, I'm going to be like, shit, the map's fucked.
Yeah.
But it could be quite useful, I imagine, because if there's a big mountain in the way, let's just run into there and be like, oh, come get me. Oh, no, you killed me. And then, there we go, you've got a clear
There you go,
path.
save me half an hour, thanks.
Yeah, but the crater is enormous, and it's essentially a great big palm print, which is what the BTs leave behind, because it's a massive one that comes out and then like slams into the ground pretty much. And the handprints, which will link back to our metaphor conversation, they're all a metaphor because it's all about connection, and your hands are how you touch shit.
And connect with
and Sam, your character, he doesn't like being touched. There's a word for it, but it's quite a long word that I don't remember how to pronounce.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all your names of stuff.
Okay.
Of which clearly there's a lot.
Well, Timefall,
right? So
was
Timefall,
rain that just dissolves shit over time. Right?
Yeah. So Timefall, it accelerates the passage of time. It looks like ordinary rain, but if it hits a human, you'll rapidly age. You'll go from like 20 through to 30, all the way to like 100 years old, and you'll just start to decompose on the spot. If it hits your equipment that you're carrying on your back or your arms or anything, that starts to like rust and degrade.
Yeah.
And then eventually whatever's inside will start to get damaged, and you won't get as good a score once you make your delivery.
Right.
It's unclear to me anyway whether or not Timefall causes BTs to come to an area, or if BTs cause Timefall to come to an area.
Right. Causation is not yet determined.
But they both always appear in the same place together.
Gotcha.
If it's raining, chances are there's going to be some BTs. So watch out. Avoiding the BTs, as I said, is really, really tense because you can't see them, and you've got this little thing blinking, and when you can fight back, that makes things a lot easier. But it's still not an action encounter. It's like, okay, there's one in the way, and I can't go around him, so I've got to go through it, smash it, and then it's through. But if they do get you, they kind of cover you in this black sludge, and they'll like jump at you, and then if they can pull you down, you then slide through the sludge into like a bigger open area, and then you fight what is essentially like a smash up between a whale and a squid, some ugly ass BT thing. And you got to kill it with whatever you have. First time I encountered one, I had nothing except shower water grenades, which don't do a goddamn thing. And you can ask for help from other real people, because part of the game's theme is multiverses, and in that every other player is in their own version of reality, doing their own thing. And because you've got this Dooms thing and the beach and everything, they're all sort of overlapping, but not quite.
Yeah.
And that's what the word chiral means, and everything is chiral. Chiral network is basically their word for the internet.
Yeah.
When you kill a BT, it leaves behind chiral crystals.
Yeah.
And apparently that's the concept of like a mirror. So it's the same, but like a reflection. It's not exactly the same, it's different, and they like stack up together. That's kind of what that means with relation to other people. So they can throw you supplies, they'll throw you grenades, and you can beat it. But the first one, none of that happened because I hadn't unlocked the blood grenade yet. So I just ran the fuck away, like looking for something, and eventually I managed to outrun the sludge, and the encounter was over, and I was like, thank Christ for that, because that would have sucked. But you are also interacting with people called mules, and these are one of the weaker points because they aren't that tense to fight. They're just people. They're ordinary humans.
Right?
Human beings who are just assholes.
In like the yellow radiation suits that got big cattle prods.
Yeah, big sticks, which again is a metaphor which I'll get onto. Bloody
Can't
hell.
wait.
It makes sense, but it's not the most compelling. So yeah, they're just crazy about stealing your stuff. That's about it. Like,
they just want your stuff. Who doesn't want more stuff? I mean, if I saw an Amazon delivery driver driving by, I'd be like, hey, give me that stuff. I wouldn't go as far as put a yellow
and attack you with
radiation
a
suit
stick
and attack him with a stick. But still, I'd still want the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not.
I can empathise, you know.
Yeah, it's not like they know what stuff you've got. They just want you.
They just want the boxes. Who wouldn't?
But then part of that, which can be an interesting mechanic, is that they've got these sensors dotted around their bases, and they don't detect you. They detect your cargo. Mm-hmm. So they ping you. You can then drop all your shit, and they'll go to where that is, and you can then bugger off safe and sound and come back and flank them. But until you get a weapon, which again I haven't got yet, you don't have many means to fight them except a rope. And of course, this rope is also made of your blood.
Why wouldn't it be?
And so when they come at you with their sticks, you can counter them and you just spin around, and then you can just do a basic 3-hit combo. Or, which is the most effective method I've had so far, is throw or punch them with one of your containers. The risk with that is that whatever's inside will get destroyed.
Yes.
So if you can beat one of them, steal their shit, which you don't need, you're not delivering that, and then just yeet it at some of the other guys, that's it. Problem solved.
Cool.
But the reason they've got a stick and the reason you've got a rope is because they're the two first inventions of mankind, according to the metaphor and all that. Yep. And a stick is designed to keep things away and be defensive and, you know, stay separate from the bad things. But a rope, that's going to bring you together.
Tie them together.
Exactly. And continuing on the rope thing, all the places are called knot. So the capital knot city, edge knot city, port knot city, because the knots are like when you tie a rope together to make a connection onto another rope, to make a longer rope altogether.
I get it. I totally get it. I don't understand why, but I know the information.
That's the thing. Like, the game, I'm happy with this metaphor. I like that there's an attention to detail to everything, but it's not as...
Does it need to thrust it in your face to have the opportunity? Yeah. That's the question, right?
It's not as clever as
you have to rub your face in it. It's like, I've got this clever idea.
Yeah.
And have it in your face. And for those of you who are listening, I'm forcing something into an imaginary person's face. I'm Hideo Kojima forcing some imaginary metaphor into the player's face.
That's what I mean. It doesn't do a great job of explaining its own jargon or anything like that, but it over-explains some of the simple stuff. Like, we've got this metaphor, and here's exactly how it works. Like, it's not that open to interpretation so far. But I did have another point about that, but I've just lost it.
Sticks, ropes, hands connection.
Ropes, and hands. Well, yeah. Well, the hands, I think, is cool because it makes for really, really interesting imagery. So when you're walking through a BT area and you can't see them, you can see their handprints coming for you, which is really tense. And again, that's to do with the whole the connection thing. But in terms of your actual motivation for the story, you're not a soldier. His job isn't to get rid of BTs. That's not what he's doing. Your job is to deliver stuff, and then you are effectively employed by the president of the United States, or whatever's left of the United States, because after the Death Stranding, which is the event that caused all this, which is when all the BTs came over and things started going wrong. She's getting you to reconnect the United States, not the world, which is what I think Kojima's rather obsessed with US culture and politics and stuff, which is fine, but I'm like, I don't care about the US, man. I want to save the world, bigger picture. So she employs you to do that because you're the only one who can, pretty much. You're the only active porter, pretty much, other than the other alternate reality versions of you. But the game does a great job of telling you how amazing you are at every bloody corner. So you'll deliver a package to someone, and then little Jeff Keighley real-world cameo
pops up with a positive affirmation.
He's just like, wow, you really are a legend, Sam. Every time.
Really are a legend.
And it's nice at first, and I'm like, oh, cheers, Jeff. Thanks, bud.
Cheers, Jeff, innit?
But then after a while, I'm like, right, all I did was transport one package 100 feet. It's not the be all and end all.
Yeah, you're going over the top a bit there, Jeff.
So it sounds like easy enough. You're just walking across America, but obviously there's BTs in the way, and there's also this guy Higgs, who again is Troy Baker's character, he's called a homo demon, which is opposite to a Luden, which is essentially the game's word for like an explorer, kind of like an astronaut or something, like a deep sea diver, someone who's going to go into the world and uncover all this information. And he just wants to fuck shit up.
Part man, part demon, homo demon. I mean, what's there to be?
I've no doubt a lot of commenters or viewers or listeners are going to be sniggering. It's like, oh, it says homo. But come on.
I mean,
it's intelligent, all right? It's mature themes.
We are Homo sapiens.
Exactly. We're all homos.
We're all homos, really.
There's nothing.
And all going back throughout our ages from where we evolved from, they were all homos too. Our forefathers are homos too.
Thank God we're not Homo erectus anymore. That would have been a fucking hoot. What about the Homo erectus? Is the human who could stand upright? They erected.
The first Homo erection. Why would that be confusing to you guys?
Where would we be now?
Something so childish.
Without the Homo erection. But yeah, he's cool. I don't really know a lot about him yet. He's proper like monologuing in true Kojima fashion. Like the first time I met him, he just kind of appeared, went shh, and then poofed away, caused a void out. Second time,
did you say poofed away?
Poofed away, yeah, he poofed away.
Right, sorry, no.
Because
I'm being challenged.
He can teleport. He's a homo who can poof.
There you go. Why wouldn't he?
Then he came back again. He monologued for a bit and then showed off how powerful he is. And now it's not really a spoiler, but now like I've been told, all right, stop him. I've got to connect the world, and now one of the other characters, like sort him out. Mads Mikkelsen, I haven't actually met in person yet, and he was a big part of some of the marketing and looked very, very sinister, but he's not the main villain or anything. The only times I've seen him is when I plug into my BB after resting, because you have to rest and like get sleep and shower and shit, and when you plug back into him, he gets little memories, and I think those bits are really, really interesting, because it's just like an extra cutscene that will happen seemingly randomly, and it'll be Mads Mikkelsen in what looks like a hospital ward or a operating theatre or something like that, with a woman who is presumably dead or in a coma or something, and then he's like, don't worry, BB, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep you alive and all that. But beyond that, I don't really know what's going on with him, but I'm keen to find out more, because Mads Mikkelsen is great, and Kojima knows Mads Mikkelsen is great, because he's always tweeting about it and brown-nosing to hell. But all in all, I am really enjoying Death Stranding, but there are a lot of kind of barriers, certainly at first, because the writing is very cheesy and very on the nose. And if you're familiar with Kojima, that's not that much of an issue, but it's not as profound as it thinks it is a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Like, I like the metaphors and everything, but it does beat you over the head with it quite a lot. The gameplay loop, I think, is really compelling, because you're constantly doing stuff, and especially at first, it gives you new things quite regularly, like new equipment, new destinations. And then the reason I've spent so long is just because I stuck in one area trying to get all of the locations up to like 5 stars connectivity or whatever before going on to the next one, partly because I'm always terrified that when I go to the next area, the previous area is going to be inaccessible anymore. Mm-hmm. But now I've got to the next area, I can fast travel, which should have been a thing a bit earlier on, I think. You can't fast travel with your packages, because that would eliminate the whole fucking point of the game.
Open, the game's gone then,
But you can fast travel and you'll leave packages behind, because that makes life so much easier, because you can look at what orders there are in certain places, and if you're like, oh, I need this location to go up in connectivity, and I know this place has a delivery for them, I can just fast travel there and make the delivery instead of having to walk all the way there without anything on you,
right?
Which is a bit annoying.
Got you.
You got to maintain your BB as well as your equipment, so if it's get damaged by a timefall, you can spray it to make it better. You can repair only the containers, though. If it's damaged on the inside, the actual thing is damaged, you're fucked.
The baby itself?
No, not the baby. The baby's fine, but if you fall off a cliff, or if you're in deep water for too long, or if you're attacked, he'll start crying. Which is really bad news if you're in a BT area, because they're going to hear you and they're going to come try and kill you. But thing is, they're not really trying to kill you, because they're not evil. BTs aren't evil. They're just stuck. Then they don't want to hurt you. They're just trying to cling on to life and your life, basically. Mm-hmm. So you got to like rock him about, and then he gives you a little like thumbs up and burps. No, I think he's done that once. The thumb pop. and he burps little hearts at you. And I think they've got the BB done really well because he's really, really cute when he's behaving. But my God, when he starts crying, I'm just like, please just shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. The monsters are going to get me. Exactly. It's delivery sim, babysitting sim.
I mean, it's life sim in general. And I mean, if you were a person, or you are a person who is employed by any delivery service and you have a child at home, the last thing that you want to do after a hard day's work is come home and play Death Stranding, because literally that is your life in real life.
It makes for a nice change of pace to play a game like this, because it is a lot of big open areas that some would say empty, and I could totally see why you're saying that, but it totally comes down to your perspective. So, like, think of it like when you're with an estate agent, you could be like, oh, this room's a bit small, and they'll be like, oh no, it's not small, it's cozy, it's warm, it's snuggly. And that's kind of what it is with Death Stranding. You could say, oh, it's unpopulated, there's no NPCs like roaming around, but then at the same time you could be like, well, it's rich and atmospheric and almost alien, like the world kind of looks like the surface of a foreign planet, because there's nothing going on, and it makes the atmosphere really interesting and leads into the sci-fi theme as well. But yeah, all in all, I'm definitely enjoying it. It took a little while to get to like really enjoy it. I was like, I definitely liked it from the beginning, but now I'm like, I don't know if I love it yet, but I really enjoy it now.
Enjoying playing it, which is the main thing. You're getting your value for money there, aren't you? If you made the purchase and you enjoy the game, it's always a bonus. I've played many games which I've bought and just not enjoyed, and not been able to refund or anything.
I don't think it's the best thing if people are saying, once you get to 10 hours the game gets good, because it should be getting good before that, and that is certainly the biggest barrier of it justifying itself, kind of thing. Like
in order to appreciate the game and start enjoying it, you have to play it for 10 hours. That's like, I don't have 10 hours to spare to give you in order to
and I was, as I said, I liked it from the beginning, but once I got all the delivery stations in the first area, I think there's about 4, and I knew the systems, I knew exactly what I was doing, I was in tune with the what the game wanted, like I got it. It was really good, but it took a little while to get to that. But I don't quite know how it could speed that up, other than maybe making the map a bit smaller. But I know eventually, which I haven't got there yet, you can build highways with other players by donating resources and stuff, like you can build bridges, and that'll make life so much easier to travel the world. And you do get a bike at one point, but my pro tip there is don't go over a jump on it, because that bike is fucking fragile and you can't get a new one until way later. So protect the bike with your life, although it doesn't handle well at all. Given how well thought out the walking is, it's bizarre how weak the bike handles,
right?
Especially having gone from something like Days Gone earlier this year, where the bike is a perfect mix of like arcadey drifting and like actual realism. Going to the Death Stranding's bike's a little bit of a step down.
There you go. Are you done with?
I think so.
Have you rung this drag?
Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking for a long old time.
Well, thank you for that, Henry. Thanks for your impressions. Hopefully that helps anybody out who is considering getting it, or just interested in general about what the fuck it's all about, because you've clarified a lot of things there.
Well, I plan to review it once I'm finished, but I definitely feel like I've got a long way to go. And Star Wars is out tomorrow. Well, we'll already be out for you.
Well, by the time that this is out, we're playing Star Wars right now, probably. Let's be honest. So with that said, we have to move on now to our next topic of conversation, which is that Rockstar have finally come out and addressed the shaky launch of Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC.
Wasn't there a character in Red Dead Redemption 1 called Shaky?
Yeah,
the drunk Irish guy.
No, he wasn't Shaky.
Or no, was he just called Irish?
Irish, he was. Yeah, he was Irish.
Just called Irish. There's definitely someone called Shaky.
Yeah.
Probably one of Steph's mates.
So outside of, did you make sure your drivers are up to date, which was their initial response, they have addressed and actually admitted that some of the blame is on their side, and it's not just your drivers that are out of date. Have you switched it off and back on again?
Yeah, right. The IT crowd over there.
So it took them 8 days to address it at all, which is absolutely astounding to me. And people give them credit now. Oh, thank you for coming out and addressing it. Like, where the fuck was this on launch day, on the second day, on the third, fourth, fifth, and so on? But anyway, this is on the 13th. So this was yesterday as of the time of recording, which is the Wednesday, and it's last week if you're watching it on Sunday on podcast. So the address goes like this. Over the past week, we have been working as quickly as possible to address the issues that have impacted the launch of the PC version of Red Dead Redemption 2. As a result, we have already identified and resolved a number of these issues by developing fixes to the Rockstar Games launcher and some to the game itself. However, we are aware that a small number of Red Dead Redemption 2 PC players are still experiencing some ongoing problems with the game stuttering. We believe this is due to unforeseen issues related to specific combinations of NVIDIA graphics drivers, NVIDIA GPU cards, and certain CPUs. I'm going to stop it there just to dissect that a little small part before we moved on. They say they have identified and resolved a number of these issues. They've provided no specifics on what those issues were and what they've fixed up to now. For example, have not addressed the the FPS issues and the game crashing or not launching at all. They have not said anything about that, but they did address the stuttering, which is unusual, right? And the thing is, if they don't address all the issues that they've got outstanding to fix, how can any person, say if you've got FPS problems or your game is crashing, how do you know that your specific issue is being addressed by them?
And saying, where was it? We are aware there is a small number of Red Dead 2 PC players. Yeah. A small number, perhaps in terms of the greater, collective of Red Dead Redemption PC players, because there's probably quite a lot. Small number. It's one of the biggest games around. That small number is still going to be freaking loads of people.
It might be a small percentage, but if it's of a large group, it's loads of people. And an example of whether or not they're fixing your specific issue, commented on our video, Scorpion Airsoft, who commented on our Red Dead video in the week. I spent $60 on a game that doesn't work. I've not played 1 second of this game yet, and it's been 7 days. That's flat out bullshit. So they're saying they've fixed some issues, but they've not fixed this guy's issues. And they're saying they're focusing now on the stuttering. This guy can't even play the game.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to know about the stuttering. He wants to know about how to get into the game. But the one issue they have addressed, which is the stuttering, and I've got an example here from a viewer of ours who did have that issue with the stuttering. Giancarlo comments, every fucking game I go to a town or city, my game runs to absolute shit. It freezes, then it stops, then it freezes, then it stops again and again over again. What the fuck, Rockstar? So just obviously he can be at ease knowing that they're working on that at the very least. So the other issue I've got with what they've said here, unforeseen issues related to specific combinations of NVIDIA graphics cards. That's what they put it down to. Unforeseen issues. You got that graphics card and you got that processor and that combination. We didn't foresee this. Well, why is it unreasonable of them to test more combinations of hardware before they launch the fucking game? That's what QA is, right? It's just unforeseen. No, it's neglect. It's neglected. Yeah. You've neglected this issue. You've neglected to test. That's what this is.
It's because you've rushed to get the launcher out and the game out ahead of Christmas so people can get holiday sales in and all that crap so that you can make more money out of it. But if you just delayed it, which no one would have a problem with, they delayed the console version like twice. It was pretty much, like a year late in the end or something like that, maybe in 9 months. And it made for a better product afterwards because it didn't run perfectly, sure, but it ran damn well, and at least you could play the fucking thing.
Exactly. Anyway, moving on to the next part of the address, we will be rolling out an update to the game today, which will address the stuttering issue alongside a host of other fixes. However, we're still currently working together with NVIDIA to completely resolve the stuttering issue in a future update, and it may take us up to a few days to properly test everything and ensure the next update completely solves the problem. Now, that announcement was on the 13th, and that they're rolling out the patch on that day or the next day, which is like today. However, what they say here is that we're currently working together with NVIDIA to completely resolve the stuttering issue in a future update. So the patch isn't a fix. The patch won't fix the problem. What this is they're addressing the problem. That's a very specific term, right? We're going to be looking at it over the next few days to fix it. So don't expect that everything is fixed now after the patch. because they say themselves that that they have to work on it in future. They do say that they've got a host of other fixes as well, which is nice, but they don't specifically say what that is. But the patch notes do. The patch notes have arrived, and this was a more recent update. So I'm just going to jump into this very shortly. The patch notes detail 72 fixes.
Bloody hell!
72 fixes, and they're not like minor things. They're major things.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they are very detailed, and it's quite. I always appreciate a very detailed patch notes, because what they do here a lot of the times is that they set the issue, and then they also provide the cause, or they say what it was caused by. So, more information is always better in my book. That's how I deem it. But still, if you do want to check out what the patch notes are, go and search for like 1.14 PC patch C, and you probably know by now if the game works for you, so that they carry on. We sincerely apologise for this temporary inconvenience, and we'll update you soon as we have more information to share. We want everyone to be able to experience Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC as we intended, as soon as possible. If you're experiencing, this is exactly how they intended. They just didn't provide enough QA. If you are experiencing any issues that are impacting your experience with Red Dead 2 for any reason, please start by visiting the troubleshooting guide. Have you tried turning it off and back on again? We don't want troubleshooting guides. We want some fucking action. That's so condescending. I hate that. I hate it when they do that. When you phone up a call centre or some tech support or something, have you tried turning it off and back on? Fuck off. Anyway,
it's not me, it is you. You're the problem.
And they carry on. And as a show of gratitude, because they're so grateful to our PC fans, while we sort this out in the coming days, everyone who plays Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC this week and through to the holiday season will receive a complimentary care package for Red Dead Online that includes the Prieto poncho and an assortment of provisions and ammo. Look for more details on the care package to come. Thanks again for your continued patience and understanding, Rockstar Games. You get a free poncho, also known as a microtransaction bribe.
Yay! Oh, great.
And for the people who aren't going to play it online, there's fuck all. Fuck you. Yeah. Like, a lot of people just want the single player experience, but screw them. If you want your reward, you're going to have to come into our microtransaction economy and experience a microtransaction in our online game, which is based as a service, so that to continue playing, we're going to serve you with all these payment options in future. That's how you get your reward for our shit implementation or shit launch of this game. Come on now, Rockstar. You can see right through that bullshit.
If you want a good poncho, I think a lot of the cosmetics in Jedi Fallen Order are ponchos, ironically enough. But you'll be getting all of those for free.
Yeah, there you go. And so the last point I want to make here, right, is that the devs right now are crunching to fix this game. That's almost definite, right? And if you remember back, the pressure they got about crunching on the game to begin with, and it all started with the Kotaku report on the development of the game, where co-founder Dan Houser actually let slip to New York Magazine, saying that employees at the studio worked 100-hour weeks in the lead up to launch to get Red Dead Redemption 2 finished. And obviously there was the Jason Schreier huge article that kind of blasted the lid off this whole thing. So this year, pressure on Rockstar over the crunch culture at the studio eased when they converted many of the part-time contracted employees and turned them into full-time employees. And there was the part-time contracted employees that were feeling the pressure to they felt like they were being mandated overtime, and that's where the old crunch thing comes from, right? And I've picked out a comment here from Reddit on a thread addressing this. He says, Flamed Baby says, I have a friend who works QA at Rockstar Edinburgh. Apparently the studio was all hands on deck and very annoyed at the issues on launch, as they didn't appear at all during testing. Again, an implication that they didn't test it well enough. And, obviously the studio is going to be annoyed because they're all hands on deck and they're crunching again now. So
because it will be Rockstar main, like the parent company, that would be like, right, we're going to do this brand new launcher, because it seems like the launcher is the bulk of the problems more than just the game itself. And I feel like if the game launched on Steam, which would be pretty easy for their infrastructure, they've already got GTA 5 was on Steam, I think. So that wouldn't be an issue. So they've obviously rushed the launcher itself and potentially rushed the PC port too. So that's not going to give them time to thoroughly test it, and it's probably not this person's friend's fault.
Not the dev's fault.
Yeah, it's not for this one studio, the one QA person for this studio. He's got a deadline, then he's got to do what he's got to do to get paid. It's his job. Yeah. But he's not been given the resources and the time to do it properly.
And these are decisions made by the executives, right? The people that are above these developers. But the developers have to deal with the fallout from these stupid or bad decisions or greedy decisions, depending on how you see this, right? If more time was allocated for QA in the lead up to launch, the devs wouldn't have to be crunching right now. And this is why we have to raise awareness of this, because if any of the devs out there, any of the people watching this video are or know a dev who works at Rockstar is crunching right now, get in touch, because this needs to be outed, right? They can't get away with this, because this is only happening because of the decision of somebody in an executive boardroom, essentially. These gamers, ourselves, and the devs all suffer from the greed of these corporations because, like you said, it has to be out by the holiday season, because it has to be out by a certain deadline. It doesn't have to be out. You're imposing that. You're mandating that yourselves, right? Like, nobody has to crunch. You get the game ready in due course under reasonable working conditions, and when the game comes out, you don't have to do this.
Yeah, like, I get that a lot of you are going to be really annoyed about these problems. Totally justified, totally understand, but don't go being toxic to these devs, because they're not the ones at fault.
They're the good guys. Yeah, they're the ones fixing fixing the shit that's been dealt to them by the fucking
busting their asses over it. So I'd rather you weren't toxic to anyone. But if you're going to do it...
If you're going to do it
anyway...
Aim it at the right people, right? So that's that. I'm glad that they've addressed it finally, but I'm just not convinced with this, right? I mean, they do say... The way that they say, oh yeah, we're launching a patch to address the stuttering issue, but we're going to fix it in a few days, like in a few days in the future. This isn't going to fix it. It's the way that they term it that makes it seem like it's going to be fixed, but it's in like reality,
putting a plaster on a bullet wound. It's not going to do anything.
But there you go. I am kind of still looking forward to getting my hands on it when it launches. I'm going to wait for Steam, because I'm going to minimize as much issues as possible, and it's coming next month. No solid date on that yet, but I definitely will prefer it. And I'm not one of these people who are like, I don't like any of the launches. I'll play it on another launcher if needs be, but because it's only next month, because I do prefer Steam, I'm just going to wait. And because of all these issues, I'm going to wait. And that's just I don't know, voting with my, based on the fact that the launch was a shit show with all these bugs and performance issues and all that shit, crashes and non-starts or whatever. I'm just gonna. That's my choice. Anyway, let us know down in the comments again if the new patch has addressed, if any of you are playing it, if this new patch has addressed your issues with the game, because a lot of people were like even when the initial, and this is another thing that got me, right, when the initial news came out and people were saying that there's performance issues, a lot of the commenters after we reported on it on our video were like, well, that's what you get for having outdated hardware, that's what you get for having outdated drivers, that's what you get for having a potato PC. No. That's what you get on this specific game. On all of the games, those potato PCs, those outdated hardware, those outdated drivers normally run pretty well, right? But because it's Rockstar, and the fact that they come out and address it now, accepting the responsibility for all these issues, at least quietens down those ignorant people who wanted to blame it on the players.
That's PC master racers turning on themselves. Like, everyone knows PCs, generally speaking, are stronger hardware than consoles. It's the big advantage. You can run things better. But then you get the people who, unless it's literally the latest equipment that I've paid £9,000 for, it's that or bust.
Yeah.
Like, you're a piece of shit. You're not a real gamer if you don't do it. You're hurting yourselves more than anything.
There you go. So let's take a short break and we'll be back for some questions. And welcome back to this second part of the podcast this week. We are going to jump straight in now to the Patreon questions which are submitted to us via our Discord server. To get access to the Discord server, you can become a Patreon member and have the satisfaction of knowing that you're supporting us bring the content on YouTube. Head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. If it's $1 a month, like I said, you get access to the Discord server as well as early access to this podcast on a weekly basis, which is awesome. And you get to keep us, keep the lights on for us. 50p in the old meter and that, because 50p's. Did you ever used to have a meter?
Nope, I know of them, but in the developed world, we've moved past those.
My auntie did. Anyway, first question this week. I forgot to put my phone on. Apologies for that. No, it is on silent. So, first question this week. In spirit of Rob Lowe's weekly question, he didn't manage to find the time to post it this week. We get it, Rob. You're a busy man. We've all got commitments, dude. I understand. But in spirit, Rob Lowe's question: what's the best game you played year 10 after your birth? So we do this on a weekly basis. We've done year 1 to 9 so far. So year 10, Henry.
Yeah, the only rule is that you have to have played it at some point in your life. You didn't have to play it when you were at the age it came out, because if you played a game when you're 1, you're probably not really going to know much about it. So my list is Call of Duty 2 2005 was my year when I was 10. Call of Duty 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Lego Star Wars. There's a bunch of Star Wars games came out that year because that's when Revenge of the Sith came out. The original God of War, X-Men Legends 2, the original Guitar Hero, which is, I kind of forgot was a thing, but also at the same time, it's like, Guitar Hero's always been around, but they just haven't made them for ages. But for a while, we had so many of them everywhere.
Yeah.
But my favorite from 2005 was Devil May Cry 3.
Good choice.
It's probably the best one in the series. 5 is really, really good and has amazing gameplay, but the story's not as good. 3's got the best story for sure, because it's a way more personal tale. It added so much to the gameplay, added style system. No, not style system. What's it called? But you can switch between Gunslinger, Swordmaster, Raw Guard, and Trickster. That was awesome. Love Devil May Cry 3. Best one.
Awesome. So my year, 10 years after my birth, was 1990. And so usually at this point I list off a bunch of games that came really close, but there's nothing came close to my number one this week. So I've only got one game, and that is The Secret of Monkey Island. And I'll fight anybody who says differently. Fight anybody who says that Super Mario World was better than this. Fight anybody who says there's any game that came close to that this year. Point and click adventure game. From when you were, I think I must have played it around the same time when I was 9, turning 10. Made by Lucasfilm. I can't remember exactly what the production company was called. Ron Gilbert was the mastermind behind it, and Tom Schafer. Ron Gilbert recently made Thimbleweed Park, which is a point and click type of adventure. I don't know if you've seen it recently, the last couple of years. It's on mobiles now as well. And Tim Schafer of Double Fine Games, and you've probably heard of them, or probably heard of some of the games that they've produced recently. In the same kind of vein, they kind of stick to the same genre throughout their careers, which is awesome. Guybrush Threepwood, did you play any of the remaster?
No, I never played them, but my first actual experience with it was because in Star Wars The Force Unleashed, I think it was The Force Unleashed 2, you could get a Guybrush Threepwood skin for your character. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, it's not a Star Wars thing, I don't get it. And then I googled it. I was like, it's because it's also made by LucasArts.
Such a good game. Came on a floppy disk. I think it was 4 floppy disks on the Commodore Amiga. It's so good, right? Because it got so many memories of that game that I don't usually have of games that I played when I was young. But it's one of those games where there's like a puzzle and you can't get past it. You don't know what the hell to do. So it might take you days. You might have to have a conversation with someone at school to figure out how to get to the next thing.
Yeah, it looks really fun because it's a lot of like outside the box thinking and not always the most obvious thing you need to interact with.
Yeah, there's a few of my highlights are you need to go to the gypsy woman. She's not a gypsy, she's a voodoo woman, right? She's a voodoo woman, and in her this is a spoiler alert for anyone who's going to play it, I know it's an old game, but you have to get the rubber chicken from the voodoo woman in order to cross the zip wire onto the next island, right? I remember that bit. There was one bit where you had to hide a file in a cake, or somebody hid a file in the cake so you could get out of a prison cell. You just had to open the cake to get it out.
Yeah.
And
like, you would never just think of that.
No. And I think the most one of the best parts of the gameplay was you'd have a sword, like you learn to be a master swordsman, so you could get and have a conversation and beat the master swordsman, so you could advance, right? But in order to do that, you have to have sword fights with certain people, and there was like a dialogue choices while you're having sword fights. So it was like a taunt and then a comeback, right? And so if you had a decent comeback to somebody, you'd beat them in the sword fight. So that's how it'd work. You'd never actually fought. So it was like, I am rubber, you are glue, and then you have to come back with something that puts them down. Decent comeback. And so every fight that you'd have, you'd learn some more comebacks until eventually you'd have enough comebacks to go and fight the master swordsman, who'd come out with a whole fresh bunch of taunts, and you had to use the comebacks that you'd learned in context in order to put it down. It was fantastic, man. Just the memories alone, amazing. Secret of Monkey Island.
We'll probably never see a Monkey Island game because LucasArts got shut down by Disney, didn't it?
Yeah, they had a remaster, but that was the art style of that was just horrible. It was just absolutely horrible art style. They didn't do justice to the original at all. The Curse of Monkey Island, 2010. Monkey Island 2 Destruction Revenge Special Edition 2010 was the latest release. So there you go. Anyway, I could talk about that. LucasArts. It was Disney Interactive current owner.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. And let's move on to the next question.
Okay, next question is from Black and Red Gaming. Hello, awesome people. What is up? My question today has to do with Death Stranding. Do you believe that the game will be successful enough that we will see more non-AAA devs take risks and try to create games that are out of the ordinary, or do you think it is going to be a one and done thing? I think a lot of indie devs are doing this anyway. They just don't get the spotlight or the attention because the masses or the casual community or mainstream community, whatever, generally don't care about the indie scene. Generally.
For sure.
But it's whether or not you like Death Stranding, because there's plenty of good things about it, there's plenty of bad things about it. I think everyone can agree that it's good that it exists. Even if you don't like it, it's still good that it's a thing and boosts the medium, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's a one and done thing. Hideo Kojima has done sequels in the past, though. The Metal Gear Solid franchise was a bunch of things. And he said recently, one thing that he said recently that implies that he's not done with this yet. He says, maybe in 5 or 10 years' time, when people look back on this franchise, then I'll create something new.
Yeah.
It kind of implies he's not looking to create something new, in air quotes, for another 5 or 10 years, a new genre or whatever. So maybe he is thinking of some sort of spin-offs to this or sequels or whatever.
He said that Kojima Productions is going to branch out and do film production stuff, which I think is a no-brainer for the kind of creator he is. It's really, it's what he's naturally suited to. I just wonder if they're going to do it in the Death Stranding universe, which I think is a great idea. As I mentioned in the video, if they do like a cross-medium thing, because you could do the game, which is the center, then you can have spin-off movies and comic books and TV shows. TV show would lend itself so well, because just follow someone else.
Yeah.
Just follow a different character living in the world with BTs and shit.
Yeah. I mean, TV adaptations of very popular games are a thing now, and we've got the Sonic movie coming up. We've got the Witcher TV franchise coming up. Gaming IP turning into to film and TV. It's a thing. I think it definitely is a good idea for Death Stranding, but we'll have to wait and see if that's the direction it wants to take.
You could do it with a fairly minimal budget, because it's not an action game. There's not like loads of explosions all the time, so you wouldn't need that many VFX. Just go into like the Scottish Highlands on a rainy day.
Yeah.
There you go. That's your setting. And then obviously that you'd have to animate in some BTs and whatnot, but it wouldn't be too demanding.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks for your question. Next up, Storm Rain. Just a curiosity question mostly. If you don't want to put it on podcast or even answer it, understandable. Tough. We're answering it, Storm Rain. Does Patreon deliver your funding in USD, US dollars, or does it pre-exchange it into the end user's local currency? I'm mainly wondering if the strong United States dollar at the moment is a benefit to Patreon creators or nothing of import. It doesn't. It delivers them in USD. Yes. So it's no benefit to us at all, because a strong USD means a weak GBP, Great British Pound. So that means we get less pounds per dollar, which means a strong US dollar fucks us in the ass, essentially, because they send the money to a holding account like a Payoneer or something like that, and then they convert it and then they send it on to us. So fuck USD. If the weaker it is, the better for us, because we get more Great British Pounds for it. That's the way it works. So I've noticed in the last month the US dollar has gone pretty strong, and yeah, it's fucked us.
Boo!
It's not that
fuck
bad.
Up
it's
the
like,
American economy.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's only like 5% difference. But when you're talking about like a decent wad of USD, that 5% can turn into like 20, 30, 40, 50 quid, whatever. But there you go. Sorted out for your Storm Rain.
Next question from Metal Shark. Considering the likely timing of the podcast, what are your top 3 predictions for XO19 announcements? Do you think the free games and even Live/Gold itself will be replaced solely with Game Pass? That Game Pass will include a free tier of xCloud, playable demos of Cyberpunk 2077, or do you think it will just be a Scarlet plus next-gen game reveal? Now, XO19 is a big Xbox...
annual celebration of all things Xbox.
That's what it is. I wanted to say convention, but that wasn't the right word. But yeah, so it's an expo.
That's it, yeah. And it happens in London. It starts today at the time of recording, November the 14th, finishes on the 16th. So Metal Shark is actually attending this year. So that should be fun for him. That's why he's asking the question. So things that are confirmed. This is a bit of a weird one, because if we answer this and we get it completely wrong, by the time you listen to this, all the information's out of date anyway. So if we'd have asked this question in like 6 hours when the convention starts, we'd have been able to answer it with facts rather than speculation. But what things that are confirmed via a source on Twitter, Daniel Ahmad, if any of you guys know, a new IP from Obsidian.
Yeah,
getting announced.
Who are owned new by IP, so it'll be nothing to do with new IP, the Outer Worlds.
Who are owned by Microsoft now, and Rare as well. Sea of Thieves.
Yeah,
right. New IP from them. We also got confirmed that speculated, there's a rumor, whatever you want to call it. Wasteland 3, Minecraft Dungeons will get release dates. And there will be a big focus on Game Pass. In terms of guessing, like I said, it'd be stupid of us to guess something that you already know, because this podcast is delayed.
I would be surprised if there was no mention of Scarlet, because that's set to come out in basically a year. Well,
Aaron Greenwood's tweeted here on this tweet I'm looking at, on October the 31st, which was a couple of weeks ago, he said, our XO19 show is focused on games, and then hands up. So maybe that takes the focus off the Scarlet, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's where Xbox have aligned themselves recently, because the console was such a fuck up with the Xbox One, and they missed the mark, and then they're heavily criticised for having no games, no exclusives. So that is the right move, but it depends on what exclusives they're going to show off. They could show something to do with Halo, because that's what's it called? Is it Infinite? Halo Infinite? Yeah. Because that's meant to be coming next year, but there's no concrete release date. I wouldn't imagine we get a release date for that yet. It's a bit soon. Maybe some Gears 5. What do they call it? Operations. That's their ongoing seasonal update. Probably something to do with that.
Yeah.
I reckon Cyberpunk will probably be there, but not as a public playable demo. Nothing like that. But that's just because Xbox have a bit of a marketing deal with them. Beyond that, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy surprising.
Yeah. Well, more games, right? They've brought up all these new studios now, and I think this is their drive forward. And if that tweet then by Aaron Greenberg is anything to be taken from that, it's going to be games. So they're going to focus on new juicy games, and that's what we want, right? As gamers, that's what we want.
Gamers like games. Hot take.
Thanks for your question, Mr. Metal Shark. Maybe you can tell us the answers when you listen to this, because you were there firsthand.
You're up, I think.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Big Doc. Now that I have a book. Oh, right, yeah. It's just a bit of a lead up. You deleted my thing. Big Doc. Wall of text from Big Doc. And then he said, "Don't read this bit out," and then left a little juicy fact about himself, which was absolutely freaking awesome. And that's all I'm going to leave it at. If you're a Discord member, you can go back and read it. But other than that, you're just going to have to be kept in suspense because that was an awesome fact by Mr. Big Doc about him. The question itself, however, is staying on the trend with Microsoft being part of the military industrial complex, and then here's another article showing how they use our information against us. So Microsoft using our information against us. I want to know what you think. Also, I got Heavenly Sword, and my follow-up question is murder, marry, shag, Nariko, Aloy, or Senua. I have a thing for redheads, lol.
So we've got Microsoft spying on us.
All right, and the article thing wasn't a question. It was just like, dudes, check this out. Conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy thing. This is fact because it's in the Wall Street Journal. But other than that, marry, shag, kill. The most important part of this question: murder, marry, shag, as he's termed it. Nariko, Aloy, Senua.
So I've just googled. Nariko is the main character from Heavenly Sword, which is a game by, I believe, Ninja Theory. Is it Ninja Theory, or am I making it up? I might be getting them confused with somebody else.
Heavenly Sword.
Yes, Ninja Theory.
Ninja Theory.
And I haven't played Heavenly Sword, but she looks quite fun. She's very scantily clad, as often. People are. Long red hair, which is nice. Aloy is the protagonist from Horizon Zero Dawn. I love Aloy. I think she's a badass because she's just got no time for anyone's shit. I've spoken about it before. Anytime they're like, "Oh, the sun gods have done this," no, they haven't. It's a robot. We need to do stuff.
And notably, she's a protagonist from a game. It's a lead character in a game, a female lead, and she's not that scantily clad. She's not that classically attractive. She's
actually a compelling character.
Yeah,
beyond being.
She's there more for like not being in a state of undress.
Yeah. There are skins for her which are more revealing because they're from like the hot area. So if you want that, you can do that. But she's actually a compelling character first, and then. Sexy afterwards, which is good. It's the right way to do it.
And on that same note, Hellblade's Senua, again a strong lead character, but she's there for other reasons, not just because she's a bit of meat, essentially. And again, made by Ninja Theory. And this is a weird one, right? Because Senua herself, she looks dead freaky in the face paint and everything.
Even before any of the
dead freaky,
issues.
So she'd be a kill for me, but. The actress herself, have you seen the motion capture footage? Yeah. She's tasty. She's a tidy lass, let's say that.
Because Senua as a character, she's got like blue war paint across her eyes and her brow, huge dreadlock ponytail thing, and she's got severe mental health issues, which in case you didn't know, it's a key part of the game.
Obviously, she's got that. The facial structure is quite beautiful, right? She's got that nice facial structure, but everything else about her is pretty manky.
She's often covered in dirt and blood.
Yeah,
because she's what is she? Is she a Pict? She's basically a Celt.
Yeah. And marry Aloy because of the strength, and she'd like her offspring would have that. There was, you're thinking about marriage, you're thinking about, repopulating, you're thinking about your offspring, you're thinking about what traits they're going to have. Aloy's got a lot of them great traits. Nakiro looks tidy, and Senua is a bit dirty, so she's dying.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you. Aloy, she's like wife material because she's smart, she's sassy, and she's sexy. And she can hunt because she's really good with a bow and arrow. So if needs be, she can go and do that shit.
That sounds good to me.
Senua, she's just too unstable, and I can't be dealing with that because
she's a badass. Still,
she's tough as shit. And what she goes through in the game is really quite horrific. But I don't know if I can deal with that.
Can't live with that.
But Nariko, I don't know anything about her, but she's a nice piece. So
she's a tasty bit. Let's leave it at that.
Tasty morsel. And continue this sexism. I also think the world, if we're going for like whichever one you marry, you have to live in their world. Living in the Horizon world wouldn't be too terrible. Giant robot dinosaurs will suck, but their world is like...
Awesome tech though, right?
Yeah, awesome tech. and it's, well, I call it like post-apocalyptic, because apocalypse has happened, people have dealt with it afterwards, and now society's like rebuilding because they've got actual towns and shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be happy living there.
There we go. Thanks for your question.
Okay, next up we've got a selection of questions from Metal Shark, and we're going to do them all, hopefully, in case...
Yeah, we've only got one question after this, so let's do it.
Let's bang. Okay, backup questions. Henry, if you had one force-powered lightsaber, etc., I don't know, weapon, what colour and style would you pick? So basically, what kind of lightsaber would I have? I always like Luke's is my favourite lightsaber, the one he has at the end of Return of the Jedi, because Anakin's lightsaber, which Luke then uses, I think it's really bulky, it's pretty ugly, but Luke's one, especially going from blue to green, even though that's not actually designed to represent his character, it actually does represent his character, because apparently the lightsaber, when they were animating it and stuff after filming, was going to be blue, but it didn't look right against the blue sky of Tatooine when they attacked Jabba's barge. Right, yeah. So they changed it to green, but it actually makes perfect sense for his character growth and him becoming a proper Jedi. So yeah, Luke's is easily my favourite lightsaber. I don't want to deal with this two-handed bollocks, because I'm more likely to hurt myself.
Yeah.
I mean, Darth Maul, he's a badass, don't get me wrong, but two-handed lightsabers are not safe. A lightsaber is bad enough. Like, if I'd love to have one, I think everyone would love to have one, but realistically, we're going to stab ourselves or chop off.
Yeah, there's going to be limbs everywhere, aren't there? Let's be honest, and blood.
Okay, follow-up question for Gaz. What Star Trek-inspired gadget would you use to defeat the now weaponized Padawan Cooper?
I was just been Googling this, like, gadget. I mean, I don't know... It's just the phaser, isn't it? Just, I mean,
and a lightsaber can block that. Well, the thing is, am I a Jedi? Or because it says force-powered lightsaber, but does that mean I'm a force user? Because anyone can hold a lightsaber. You're just probably not going to be very good with it, unless, of course, you're what's his chops in the new series, Finn, who can apparently wield a lightsaber like it's nothing
from birth, away. Pops out of a mother's womb.
And I actually quite like The Force Awakens, but why didn't he just get ruined by Kylo?
Right, I'm going to go for something that kind of, maybe it loosely falls into the definition of a gadget, but I'm going for the holodeck, because the holodeck is the best creation on any sci-fi show ever, right?
What does it do?
The holodeck, you walk into a room and you're anywhere you want to be, right? It's a holographic projection of any environment you want to be in. It's literally a VR thing without the headset or anything, and all the people are obviously proper AI, proper human looking people that you can interact with, proper clones of actual people, holographic projections. So what I would do is get you into the holodeck. While you're fighting away all the stormtroopers that I'm throwing at you, I can sneak up behind you and take you out.
Well, I feel like if I'm in your illusion that you've created, I'm just going to end up stabbing myself, because I'm not a Jedi. I'll just be like,
I just let you kill yourself.
Yeah, and that's it. You walk away. All right, next one. If you could pay a small fee, just enough to cover the media and some profit, to get physical copies of games you had already purchased digitally, especially if digital titles then cost less, do you think you would be more inclined to buy digital and probably never end up buying the physical copies of many titles?
This is a good question. It's a hypothetical, obviously, but if you could pay an extra $5
to upgrade,
to turn your digital copy of Red Dead Redemption on PlayStation 4 into a physical copy, would you do that?
Yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah, it's almost a no-brainer, because then you can sell it.
Yeah. I'm a collector. I like having my games on a shelf, but you can sell it, so that's practical, and you will own it. Like, if the PSN or whatever shuts down any game I have downloaded or pending download from there, they're like in my library. I've just got them uninstalled. I then can't get them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question. If one or more of the next generation of consoles required online DRM verification for a single-player only game to play, would you be opposed to purchasing it for personal enjoyment beyond the bounds of required for work?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
You would be opposed to...
Yeah, I would never buy that out of... I just play PC. Why would I want to lower myself... All right, rephrase that. Why would I want to buy something that's going to force me to stay online all the time when I could just go to a PC, which is arguably superior hardware that I've already have. Okay, no, not everybody's the same, but I've already got a PC that's probably going to be better than what the PlayStation 5 comes up with. But if the PlayStation 5 has to be connected to the internet all the time, I would strongly be opposed to that, and I would rally against that on the content. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I've been teetering on getting a PC for years. It's just a matter of pricing, and then when the next generation launches, it will come down to whether or not they've got a good exclusives lineup on the PS4 for games that I'm interested in, like God of War or the future of Horizon or whatever's going on there, or Last of Us. But with regard to PC, there's games like that are tempting me to do it, with like Cyberpunk. Because if I want to play Cyberpunk, I'm like, I don't want to have it run like garbage on a PS4. I want it to run real nice. Yeah. But I might end up buying both. Yeah. I'll get one eventually. It's just there's such a huge upfront cost that I can't justify.
Yeah.
Anyway, final question in this blockade from Metal Shark. If you could play on Stadia, xCloud, EA Play, etc., will you make the streams public?
That's a good idea. That is a good idea.
I probably wouldn't do it all the time.
Let's say, yeah.
But yeah. Especially if it's like a multiplayer thing. You'd be like, why not have people
will you make the streams
just hop in?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If we're playing in the office, it makes sense. If you're playing at home, I generally don't want people... I want to make mistakes and not feel like I'm being scrutinized or whatever.
Yeah, well, and it depends. Like, if you're just playing to be by yourself and have a bit of you time, but if you're a bit more casual, like playing a multiplayer game with friends, like, why not open it up to more people or something? Yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea, but I wouldn't do it all the time.
We could try, we could do a stream from the office, trialing Stadia. People could watch the footage while we're playing it, because, the game is hosted not on our server. People don't have to connect to our local computers. It won't detract from our gameplay experience session, I thought. Thanks for your questions, Mr. Metal Shark. Hopefully that answers them. Flippy Wing has got a question, but it's a bit of a long read because it's his first question and he's excited to be here, so I'm going to read it. Fuck yeah. Hey yo, Henry and Gaz, I've been watching your guys' YouTube videos for around 2 years, and I recently started listening to podcasts and remembered PGG has one, so I looked it up and started listening to the past few, and after just a few I went and created a Patreon account just for this. You guys are pretty good.
You're pretty good.
Ding, 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 ding. My favourite part has to be the triggered comments and the Discord Q&As. This is it. There are some really random questions sometimes, but you always answer them anyways, and I think that's great. Thank you very much. And so I hope that you guys will answer some of my random questions, even though they aren't really gaming related. Not sure if you covered this before, previous cover. Sorry if it's been asked, but I'm already curious, your day-to-day operations is like. So the question begins here. Do you guys treat this like a day job? Get in at 8, out by 4 type of thing? Or are you guys constantly working, even at home? What does work mean to you guys? That's pretty deep. Researching news online and typing out a script, playing through games, etc. Who are the other people in your team? I hope it's not just you who does all the recording, writing, etc. I'm not sure if this is a taboo subject, so feel free to skip this one. But what are Mike and Jake up to now? Also, what kind of jobs did you guys have before the YouTube channel? I guess after listening to you guys for a while, I'm just really curious to know more about you guys as possible. I'm getting there. And to know how the channel/team operates. Thanks for reading. That was a mouthful. But thanks for the question, Mr.
Yes, thank
Flippy
you.
Wing.
Well, numerous questions.
Let's jump in.
So, like a day job. Pretty much. Get the work days between 9 to 5. We're normally here a little after 9.
Yeah. Depending on transport.
And trains not being a bitch. Thing is, I'm normally done at the latest, usually by about 3:30. But then I can't get my bus to then get a train. It's a long commute. Until 5. So I'm just milling about, maybe reading a bit more ahead of whatever we could maybe do tomorrow.
Yeah, it's more like a job for you, and it's more kind of fluid for me because I'm jumping between the music channel and between my other full-time job, which is like being a father, and I'm looking after the kids. So yeah, I sometimes do work. I do a lot of work at home, especially researching, which is the next part of the question. Are you guys constantly working even at home? Well, yeah, whenever I pick up my guitar, I'm essentially working because that is part of what I do, right? And every time I'm reading an article on a new gaming news thing, that is technically reading because it's researching. So
it's just staying in tune with the ongoings on with the games industry. And
the more that I do that at home, the easier it is when we get in the morning. It's like, right, we've got to cover this, and it's like, right, if it falls out of you, then the script notes or whatever, and you can film really quick early in the day, and it's a lot easier day that way. So yeah, researching is the big part, like finding what stories. That's the first step. Finding what stories, researching all the information, and following your curiosity in a way, like investigating what your thoughts are. It's like, oh, what about this? And do some research, finding a Google article, finding a Reddit post or whatever, and then like tying that into your notes, and then like, oh, what about this other point? And then doing the same thing again, going off on tangents, and then throwing that all together in one kind of script. It's not a script, but it's more like
not
loose,
so much anymore.
Yeah, it's more like a loose running notes kind of thing. So once the notes are all ready and compiled, we usually separate the parts out so we can talk in turn rather than one of us like doing a huge part without the other one.
Playing through games. We rarely play games in the office. Sometimes we do, but not that often, because unfortunately game playing time takes away from writing and editing time. And
it's unfortunate that playing games takes so fucking long these days. But that's the thing. Who are the other people in your team? Nobody, dude. This is it. This is it. Henry does the bulk of the editing, if not all of, and the other post-production stuff after we record. Post-production stuff is the editing, as well as doing the thumbnails, title, and the description for the videos, the tags. So all the programming, and generally I do that, and collecting media as well. That's a bit of a big task. So the media used for editing, I generally collect that all up, send it over to Henry, so his process is a lot smoother because he can just throw in the media into the timeline on the edit, and that helps that I know how to edit too. So it's like I'm thinking about how he's going about his job and supporting him essentially. So that's how the team works. The Taboo one, what are Mike and Jake up to now? Honestly, I don't know. It's a shame to say, but it wasn't intended like this. But we kind of lost contact, and we're not really in contact anymore. So you'd have to go and ask them where they are. Head over to Special Moves if you want to go and check out what they're up to now, and ask them yourselves. Also, what kind of jobs did you guys have before the YouTube channel? You were a sandwich.
Well, I just had
artist.
Yeah, that's what they call it. I was just normal retail jobs. Like at school, I worked at Domino's Pizza, the worst job I've ever had, because I hated the team and it was just really dull. Worked in a bar on and off through uni outside of term time. That was a really good job. Although it's very off-putting having drunk, middle-aged, like, you know, the kind of old women who have been like chain smokers for 40 years and their whole face is kind of just like sunken. They could be 40, but they could also be 80. Them kind of leering at you, and there's me, skinny fucking 19-year-old, just
wet behind the ears.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with you people. Like, it's not like,
why are you close to me?
It's not
move away from me, peasant.
Well, yes, that. No, but it's not like we're gonna have a quick one behind the fucking loos. Like, you're ancient, and I had a girlfriend at the time anyway. Then I worked at a Subway during uni and afterwards until coming here. That was a piece of piss job, and it was really easy, but it was shit. It was just the same as any other retail job. All retail jobs are shit.
It's horrible dealing with the public.
And dealing with some people on your team who are nice people, but my God, they cannot steer the ship.
Yeah.
What about you?
So before the YouTube channel, which is this, obviously I was working on my other YouTube channel full time, which is the music. This was an offshoot of my YouTube productions. So before that, let's say 2015, and the whole 10 years before that, I was working in a factory doing 12-hour night shifts. Well, not for the whole time, but that's pretty much for the 2 years leading up to changing to YouTube. Working in a printing factory. I was a qualified printer. So this sticky labels that you find on like margarine lids and like milk cartons and stuff, I used to print them if you lived in the UK. There's a good chance that you drank from either milk carton that I maybe printed on, like the milk, the 4 pint ones with the sleeve around it. I printed a lot of them in my time, and the the Muller corner things. Yeah. Not the top thing that you peel off, the one on the side that's like a little weird shape.
Yeah,
I did a lot of them. Did a lot of them. But there you go. That's what I used to do.
It sure doesn't sound fun.
It wasn't fun. That's why I'm not there anymore. Yeah. That's why I changed my life. Working in a factory
easy steps
sucks. But the good thing about working in a factory, and the thing that has kind of stayed with me, is my sheer disdain for corporates. The people who treat you just like a cog in a wheel. The people and all the middle management as well, man. The brown noses and the snivelling little bastards
who think they're important.
Who act important and are like really smarmy to the higher ups and just like, and they're just arseholes to you, and they just like they just like push you down in order to get a leapfrog in life. And it's like you absolute cunt. There's no need for you to be like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, same with me in these retail thing. Well, it was only the Domino's one and Subway one because they're both franchised. So whoever was the managers of those stores, like, that was their life, and it wasn't like they were so committed to it because they loved the job and they wanted to do well. It was they just found themselves in there and they'd stuck with it because they were either too lazy or hadn't the will to go and do something else. They're like, I hate this job, I want to do something else. Well, like, do it then. Like, I have no problem with people who are career retail workers, because there are some people who love it and are really good. They're really good with people. They love doing it. That's awesome. These people weren't that.
No, I remember one guy. He was turning 50, right, and he was such a the way I saw him, he was so depressed and so frustrated with coming to work every single day. The fact that he just worked on like this machine that's supposed to be on mute, but it's still that's not my fault. But yeah, I used to look at him and think to myself, do I want to be him when I'm 50? Like the guy who comes to work and hates his life, hates his job, doesn't interact a lot with the people around him, just dislikes the whole, for a 12-hour shift, like 4 times a week. I would hate to be that person. So that, that was one of the primary motivations for developing the operations on YouTube and actually stepping out of that bullshit, because all credit to anyone who does work long days in a factory. I can appreciate how much hard work it is, and it's just soul crushing. It's destroying, right? They dehumanize you in those places. They treat you like a bit of a machinery. If you're ill, if you're off for whatever reason, like, they don't care. They just care about the production. They care about the stats. They care about production rates and efficiency and all that bullshit. And it sucks. Absolutely sucks. So at the very least, spending 10 years in that sort of environment gives me an appreciation for life that someone who hadn't done that certainly doesn't have.
Yeah, they're just like national service type things that some countries have. There should be national worker shit job for the... Yeah. Like, if you take all these... It's the middle-aged woman thing, you know the haircut. We all know the haircut. They're always called Karen, ironically enough.
That's my wife's name.
Or Sharon or something like that.
Karen or Sharon.
And it's the I want to speak to your manager haircut.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Fuck them. They need to work a shit job and get
and also wage. These teens, these upstarts who think they know the world, they think they know the way of life, who feel entitled to everything in their life. They need to do a 12-hour shift or 2, that's for sure. But thanks for your question. I think that is it. There was a lot of questions in there. What kind of jobs? After listening to you a while, thanks for reading. Yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit of a background on us, how we work, and and how we go about things, essentially. Thanks for your question, and thanks for becoming a Discord, a Patreon supporter, Mr. Flippy Wing. We really appreciate it, and everybody who does take the choice to support, bring us this content, because it is difficult, and it is difficult to know. It's the financial fluctuations with YouTube that is the most difficult part, and we discussed it there with the fact that Mike and Jake, they're not here anymore because YouTube fucked us in the ass with regard to revenue, and Patreon is one of the ways that we are able to keep going and keep our revenue pretty even from month to month. So, like I said, if you do have a mind to support us, we genuinely, from the bottom of our hearts, do appreciate that. Patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. And with that said, let's move on to the YouTube comments from this week. But first up, the Triggered Fanboy comment of the week. I mean, this one, as a little precursor, before I read it out, it's not hugely triggered or a fanboy, but I thought it was cool. It's the best choice for this week. It comes from Lil Shell 1911, and I can't remember. I think it was on the Blizzard. I don't know. Did we do a Blizzard one recently? I know. But Lil Shell 1911 says, "You guys censor your own comment section for people disagreeing with you." Clap emoji. Yet you have the balls to call out Blizzard? What a bunch of losers who can't understand simple math. Same bunch of losers who block people for pointing it out. Dirtbags.
What did we do wrong there? Like, is there a comment that you deleted or some shit? Like, what's happening there? I need context.
Let's dissect this. So the Blizzard, we're calling out Blizzard for that Blitzchung thing where he won the Hearthstone tournament and they deplatformed him. He said he couldn't say that kind of thing. Banned him from Hearthstone for a year. Took his prize money off him. Walked that back. Reduce the ban to 6 months and then give his money back. And we're calling them out, so we're dirtbags. So your first issue here is you censor your own comment section for people disagreeing with you. I've never done that. Never censored anybody for disagreeing with me. I do censor people who are being unnecessarily toxic or just have nothing, or just being just vile in the comments. I censor that shit out. Why? Because I don't want my comment section to be a garbage a garbage place to be. I want discussion to be positive, and that doesn't include censoring people for disagreeing. I think disagreement is a very positive way to go about dealing with people who have conflict, right? You have to be able to disagree, but you have to be able to do it in a diplomatic way. I've never ever censored anyone or banned them from the chat for disagreeing. That's just not
if you're disagreeing while swearing, it's just going to get picked up in the spam filter anyway. It's nothing to do with that there.
You have a balls call out Blizzard. So obviously Blizzard fangirl here, this Lil Shell. We have the balls because we've got an opinion and we're allowed our opinion. And the point of that is, you're coming back at us calling us dirtbags for voicing our opinion on the internet. Isn't that the definition of toxic? Isn't that what you're kind of you're trying to stop us from having an opinion, and also at the same point saying that we don't like other people's opinion? That's a bit hypocritical, right? Isn't that a bunch of losers, dirtbags who doesn't understand simple maths?
Clearly this chap doesn't understand simple math or its syntax, because we can't be a bunch, because a bunch is more than 3. And we are but 2, as we established based on the previous question.
We're not a bunch. I mean, someone who I'm likely to censor is someone who's been toxic. I didn't actually, this is a kind of a lame comment that I just allow. But if someone comes and it's like really personal or something, we'd have to deal with that. Especially when it's directed at Henry, I can deal with that shit. But Henry, I've got to try and protect a little bit, because you're a worker, and you're essentially getting paid to do this. And if you get abused in a workplace anywhere else, you'd expect your employer to try and protect you from that shit, right?
That's true.
So that's part of why I do that.
And you're on the channel all the time because it's your channel that you watch other things through and whatnot. I have my own personal, not channel for uploading videos, but my own personal YouTube account with my own subscriptions and stuff, and I log into the Pretty Good Gaming one to upload or occasionally make a comment, and then I log back out again so that you don't get full of my garbage recommendation feeds.
Yeah. So there you go, Lil Shell. Congratulations on becoming the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week, because that was one of the stupidest comments that I've read in a while, and congratulations. So let's move on. Have you got on?
Well, it's just come up in front of me, and after you've said you're protecting me, Colby Gums. Henry, thanks for contributing to this channel. You bring so much to the table. Yup. He's either being really nice or being properly sarcastic.
No, because Colby Gums has one of my comments of this week, and he says on another video, keep up the good work, Henry. You're a star in the making.
I am. Well, what was it? Was it Vienskus who brought it up last week that we should find some positive comments? Well, there we go.
On that note, in that vein,
a really good positive one for you, actually.
What was that?
Sergio Colucci, I think we've had comments on this before. Damn boy, at timestamp, Gaz makes some flex. Literally, now I want a shirtless special podcast.
Well,
you can do that one by yourself.
I mean, if the YouTube ad revenue goes down significantly enough, we might have to do a shirtless podcast just to get the revenue back.
Do you reckon you could squeeze your pecs in such a way so that they would look like cleavage, female cleavage, on a thumbnail? Because then it's you're clickbaiting yourself.
Hairy.
It's not misleading.
Hairy, unfortunately.
You have to
have a shave. But thanks for your comments, Colby Gums. It's that type of like positivity that we overlook so often. Venticus made a good point last week. We should focus more on people who are, because these comments are there, of course they are, but you always, it's a human psychological thing to focus on the negatives and dwell on those. But you're absolutely right, Colby Gums. Henry is a star in the making. He's not a star yet, obviously. He's nowhere near a star yet. He's obviously working on it.
Well, you should never stop working on it. You should never become the star. You should always be striving for the next level.
Good point.
Otherwise, you just plateau.
Good point. Okay, I've got this comment here from Righteous Bruce, which was on the Red Dead Redemption 2 problems with the PC launch video. And this is funny, right? He says, spent 4 hours trying to get the game to launch, ... Even after 2.69 gigabyte update, it doesn't work. Tried opening ports that allow NAT traffic because it now says I'm offline. I am now transferring it to second PC I have. Hopefully that works, ... Next, the rest of it's in all caps. Fuck Rockstar, I'm done. That was the last first day full price purchase I ever give you. Pirating your shit from now on. Fuck your shit multiplayer. Oh my god, it's working. Don't know what the fuck I did. The roller coaster of emotions in that comment was awesome.
Like the level of energy is up there with your typical triggered, but he's not triggered because he's doing it like deliberately. He's turning himself on. It's not so much triggered as like.
Who guessed that shocker ending? Oh my god! OMG, it's working. Don't know what the fuck I did.
The power. Well, I got one here which I disagree with on a fundamental principle. There was another one I fundamentally disagreed with, but I couldn't find it, so I'm going to keep looking. But this one is on our video about Activision selling a bunch of stock, even though they said they weren't going to artificially inflate the price or whatever. I can't really remember. It was a complicated video.
Yeah.
By all means, watch it yourself. From Yaroslav Dimidov. So, go buy Outer Worlds. No nonsense whatsoever. So that's quoting me in the outro where I was talking about go buy Outer Worlds because it's anti-corporate and these corporations are being dicks. So, yeah. Game is literally an Epic Store exclusive after it was heavily promoted on Steam, and then a grinning face. I hate this take because it's not fucking true.
Literally not true.
Like,
use the word literally there, and it's literally not true.
So, you're totally within your rights to be annoyed about Epic Store exclusives. We've said where we stand on that numerous times. You're totally allowed to be pissed off about it. But this one, The Outer Worlds, is not an Epic Store exclusive.
You can't change the facts to suit your narrative.
You can get it on the Windows Store. It's just the way it is.
I know you want to be upset about it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Don't change the truth.
You're choosing to be upset with that.
The fact is facts, right? Check your facts.
And you're going to sleep on what is, by my estimation, likely to be a Game of the Year contender from many outlets.
For sure.
Because of your hatred for Epic, even though they're not really anything to do with it. Just get it on Windows Store. Yeah, it's not as good as Steam, but yeah, it's a good game.
There you go. I've got a comment this week, which on last week's podcast, and it was Brando who said, just noticed you guys read comments from the previous podcast. Can you read this one too? Thanks. Fuck no, I won't do that. Someone asking to read a comment.
Bitch.
Fuck, what am I? Some sort of like puppet? Some sort of dancing monkey or something? I can read your comment just because you asked it. Idiot. Right, let's move on.
I'm still trying to find this good one I found, because naturally it was on the Death Stranding video, which was about as divisive as one would expect. Some people saying, "Oh, it's the most boring game ever. All you do is walk." And then some people saying, "It's the most exciting game ever because all you do is walk."
Yeah.
No other game does that. But I can't seem to find it, so I'm going to keep digging. But if you've got another one,
I've got one last one, which was a bit of a kind of discussion. Advancing the conversation, right? We're talking about how many bugs in a game before it goes from being a minor 4 to a major 4 surrounding the Fallout 76 game refunds being Bethesda's parent company, which is called ZeniMax being forced to refund in Australia over Fallout 76. The conversation was how many bugs does it take to go from a minor 4 to a major 4? Now my MIKE chimes in. The definition for bug-free code in quotation marks already exists for decades now. If you have only 4 minor errors in 1,000 lines of code, it's considered bug-free because we can never reach perfection. We are only humans, and this rule of thumb takes that into consideration. Major bugs are always considered bugs, though. So I didn't know that. It's a bit of new information that there is a upper limit of 4 minor errors per 1,000 lines of code, and that code will still be bug free by the definition. Yeah. And if you got 5 minor errors, and then you go from like what is a minor error to being a major bug. In code,
there are millions of lines of code in video games, right?
Yeah, I mean, thinking of Fallout 76, there's a million lines of codes, and it's probably 2 million bugs in that. Yeah. 2 million botched lines of code in that game. So
that's quite a good comment because it's informative. It is a little bit matter of fact, but it's not toxic.
I don't mind those.
Like it's. Oh no, this is the information.
Yeah,
he's probably a techie person or works in IT or something like that.
Yeah, it didn't warrant none. Actually.
Yeah, he didn't say actually. Which
it didn't warrant that at all. It was a good comment.
So I got a couple here that are sort of similar. They're on the Death Stranding video. One from Jesse John Jones.
One of my favourite comments every single time.
I don't know if I've seen this person.
Oh yeah, he's come.
Okay. I can't wait to get my hands on this game and make my own opinion. I like that because you're going to make your own fucking opinion.
Yeah.
There's so many people, and it's easy to do. It's easy trap to fall in who have just watching a bunch of reviews or reading a bunch of shit on Reddit and having them tell you what you should be angry about or being told it's boring. You might think it is boring when you actually play it, and that assumption and judgment might be proven right. But everything, just try it yourself and try it from different people or different. Like if you regularly watch one reviewer and that's the only person you watch someone you don't watch. Absolutely. I watch IGN reviews and I know I don't like them because I want to see their perspective from an angle I generally don't agree with. Then there's another one here which is a great comment, and I feel this is what I'm like all the time if I'm watching videos. The Emo Show on the same video, and I'm sat here just laughing at this comment section. Because that's the way to live. You're just a spectator for the infighting that happens in comment sections. I love that, man.
That is it.
He's on the money.
That is the way. I'm trying to look for this. I'm pretty sure that's the guy I'm thinking of anyway, this Jesse John Jones.
It's got a distorted picture of what looks like a Donald Duck, maybe? I can't even really tell.
It's that image. Maybe someone else has got the same image, but I always see... The problem is with YouTube now is that they're transitioning between a creative studio, old creative studio, and a new creative studio. And if I search in the old creative studio, it gives me results in the new creative studio. However, the new creative studio doesn't have a search. So this is why it's fucked up. So I search, I don't get any results. I just get sent to the shitty new creative studio, which is bollocks. And that's my rant of the week over with. Because fuck, why do they have to tinker with everything? Leave it as it was. Right? The classic creative studio was awesome for the analytics side, right? If ever you want to drill down on how your videos performing, whatever, you can do that yourself. If you're an analytical person. You can figure out this shit for yourself. You can look at the graphs. You can do what you want, figure out anything you want. In the new creative studio, it's like they think everyone's stupid and they try and give you the headlines. Oh, your video is performing 10% better than your previous video. Try and figure out what you did and replicate that. Oh, congratulations. This video is being clicked by people who are outside of your subscribers. Well done with the clickbait. That type of bullshit. It's like, well, I could figure that out myself if you give me the tools to do that, which just seems to have scaled right back in the new creative studio. That's first world problems, I know, and it is something that only YouTubers will ever identify with. But holy fuck, Google and YouTube are one of the worst companies. We're probably not one of the worst companies to work for, but from my perspective, I know firsthand they're not one of the worst companies to work for. We talked about it earlier, but for fuck's sake, they don't half make things difficult.
I mean, making things user friendly, I'm all for, but it's gone the opposite way, and it's just cluttered with shit about. You're right, like this video did well. I don't give a fuck. It's up now.
The average view time on your video is 25% lower than your average view time.
I can't do anything now, can I?
Oh, what the fuck? Your latest released video has got 10% more views at this time, 4 hours after posting, than your previous video. What? How am I supposed to use that information other than I clickbait better this time or whatever? Well done. More people are clicking on your video. Your clickbait is working. That's the only thing that you're telling us with that bullshit. I've ranted enough. I'm out of questions now, dude. I don't know if you've got any left.
No, I haven't got any more. I could go and dig, but I'm not going to.
There we go. Thank you very much for listening and supporting as usual. On behalf of Henry and I, we will see you again in the next video or podcast that you watch. Until then, bye for now.